Greetings and welcome to Speak Up with Morella on Mental Wellness TV. Today, we will explore a deeply important topic for our mental well-being: fear of rejection, the deepest root of insecurity, and how we can manage it through practical solutions and strategies for better mental wellness. Fear of rejection is a universal human experience that profoundly influences how we relate to ourselves and others. It often lies at the core of our insecurities, shaping our behavior, choices, and emotional health. Research indicates that the fear of rejection affects a significant portion of the population. Surveys suggest that nearly 70% of people experience some degree of this fear in social, professional, or intimate settings. This fear can manifest in avoidance of new relationships, reluctance to express true feelings, or overcompensation to gain approval, leading to chronic stress, anxiety, and diminished self-esteem. Understanding this fear requires us to recognize its origins. Fear of rejection stems from an evolutionary need for social belonging. Historically, being excluded from a group threatened survival, so our brains evolved to be highly sensitive to signs of rejection. Childhood experiences often reinforce this fear. Moments of neglect, criticism, or emotional unavailability from caregivers can implant deep-seated doubts about our worthiness. As adults, these internalized beliefs can translate into a persistent anxiety that we are not good enough, unlovable, or destined to be left out. This anxiety undermines our ability to form authentic connections and embrace our true selves. Addressing this fear is vital to cultivating emotional resilience and genuine self-acceptance. We can begin by cultivating awareness and self-compassion. When we notice feelings of rejection arising, rather than suppressing or fearing them, we can acknowledge them gently and remind ourselves that these feelings, while painful, are not definitive truths about our value. Mindfulness practices, such as meditation and deep breathing, help create the mental space to observe these emotions without judgment. By shifting from reactive to reflective responses, we can reduce the automatic negative narratives that fuel insecurity. Developing healthy boundaries is another key strategy. Often, fear of rejection leads us to say yes when we want to say no, or to tolerate disrespect in order to maintain relationships. Learning to set clear limits protects our emotional health and sends a message to ourselves and others that we deserve respect and care. This does not mean becoming rigid or unkind. Rather, it is about honoring our needs authentically. Practicing assertive communication empowers us to express our feelings and desires confidently, fostering relationships based on mutual understanding rather than fear-driven compliance. Building a supportive community can also mitigate the fear of rejection. Surrounding ourselves with people who accept us unconditionally nurtures a secure sense of belonging. This might involve reconnecting with trusted friends, seeking therapy groups, or engaging in activities that foster connection around shared interests. Positive social feedback reinforces our self-worth and provides safe opportunities to practice vulnerability. On a practical daily level, there are several exercises we can incorporate to combat this fear. Journaling about our feelings of rejection helps externalize and clarify these emotions. Affirmations that emphasize our inherent worth can gradually rewire negative thought patterns. When facing challenging social situations, visualizing successful outcomes, or preparing scripts for expressing needs can boost confidence. Importantly, we should allow ourselves to experience discomfort without rushing to avoid it. Growth often arises from leaning into uncertainty rather than fleeing from it. Scientific studies support these approaches. Research in psychology highlights the role of cognitive behavioral techniques in reducing social anxiety and fear of rejection. Mindfulness-based interventions have been shown to improve emotional regulation and decrease rumination on negative social experiences. Neuroimaging studies reveal that acceptance practices can modulate brain areas involved in threat detection, diminishing the intensity of rejection sensitivity. Furthermore, social neuroscience underscores the fundamental human need for connection, suggesting that healing this fear is not only psychological, but also biological. As we commit to this journey, it is essential to emphasize the power of self-care and compassion. Healing the wounds of rejection fear is not a linear process. It requires patience, kindness toward ourselves, and ongoing effort. By prioritizing our mental health through restful sleep, nourishing nutrition, physical activity, and engaging in meaningful pursuits, we build the foundation for emotional resilience. Celebrating small victories, no matter how modest, fuels motivation and deepens our sense of personal agency. In closing, let us remember that fear of rejection, while deeply ingrained, does not define us. We have the capacity to transform this fear into an opportunity for self-discovery and empowerment. By embracing practical tools and nurturing a compassionate mindset, we can cultivate a secure sense of self that is not dependent on external validation. Our worth is inherent, and our authentic connections arise from our courage to be vulnerable and real. Here concludes today's presentation. We encourage you to send us the topics that concern you and participate in our show, as the subjects you request will be covered in future episodes. Stay with us daily for a new dose of strength, joy, and inner balance. Finally, we invite you to visit our website and explore the specialized collections we have prepared for every aspect of mental and emotional wellness. Stay with us every day for a fresh dose of strength, joy, and inner harmony. Until next time, we invite you to care for one another, but first and foremost, care for yourself. Be well always.